This is the Nomestia podcast, where we return to home as a paste. You are welcome here.
So this is episode 2 of all things chatting about whatever's coming up around tending to ourselves and tending to the family. And then if we find someone in a van life, then amazing.
That's the idea, yeah.
If you did listen to the last one, you're starting to listen to this one, or it is really useful for a podcast, considering, you know, it's free. So in exchange, maybe it'd be nice if you could just like the episode and then subscribing so that you get notifications of a new one. So we're publishing this via Substack, but you can listen to it on Spotify and you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts. And I also put it on another place I can't remember the name of, but it's really helpful for podcasts and for other people to find the podcast if it's liked and subscribed to where possible. That would be amazing. So this week, actually there were like 3 really good van lifers, but I kind of like didn't pluck up the courage to ask them.
I know, it's quite a big one, isn't it? It's not just like, oh, can I borrow a bit of milk?
Yeah, I know. I know. And
can you sit down for half an hour and record it?
I know, and also like some people might be really into it, and then like other people might be like, no, that's not for me. And then it's like, I feel, for me anyway, it's one of those things where I have to pluck up the courage to ask. I will get better at it.
Yeah.
But there was a really, really great couple of people that I could have asked. Anyway. So I've got what I've been listening to, which you haven't obviously been listening to it. And I said, let's just go in and chat about it, because I'm going through what I would call an existential crisis, which is not really an existential crisis, but it's where I'm just navigating what's coming up.
Another midlife crisis?
Yeah, I have about 20.
I feel like I've had a few.
Yeah, and I think I've had a lot since this whole process, and then rethinking everything again. But anyway, one of the things that's definitely come up for me many times is the smartphone and social media, and just how you navigate that. But also I think there's a bit of a contrast in, you know, like when you're in the van and then you just wake up and you're in these beautiful places and you're really connected to nature and you feel really what I do anyway, I don't know about you, but I just feel like, oh wow, isn't this amazing? Like, just to not be no one knows where you are and you're just connected to source. And then you're like, cool, now now I'm thinking about obviously how I then go online, and sometimes like I've been really bad on my WhatsApp, for example. Like the amount of WhatsApp messages are building up. Yeah, and people are like, is she alive? And then I disappear off social media, so then friends are like, oh god, is she actually okay? You know.
Yeah.
But actually I'm not okay with just being connected, you know. But then I obviously like the other side of it, where I've managed to spend the last 10 years making a business out of essentially people finding me online.
Yes.
And I did the whole like in-person workshop thing at festivals, didn't I?
Yeah, you did a festival season.
Yeah, but then people just at festivals, they're in it for the free shit. They're not in it to like, well, actually I lie. There was one really good festival that I did. A couple that I had clients from outside of the festival, but out of I don't know how many I did over 2 years, like 8 festivals, maybe more.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's built up that kind of thing about, oh, well, you know, I should be able to just get it for free.
Yeah.
Off your social media or something like that.
It's been a really hard, tough 10 years of trying to navigate. So then I wrote a book, didn't I? And I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to write a book then. Fuck you, social media and everything else. And then my book got banned. So, I mean, you can still find it if you dive into the depths of it. And one day it's going to have its day. But, you know, that's why, anyway, we'll go off topic because I'm having an existential crisis. But anyway, the point is that I wanted to sort of understand more about the psychology of how people who have designed apps and smartphones, how they've designed them to be distractible. Anyway, one of my favourite newsletter writers is Alexandra Franzen, which I've spoken about many times, Alex Franzen. And I did that How to Promote Yourself Without Social Media, because she quit social media years ago.
I was going to say, that's that one, yes.
Yeah. And so she sent another newsletter, like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, being like, hey, reminder, I quit social media and this is why. And this is my experience of it 10 years on.
Wow, she's done it for 10 years.
Yeah, she quit 10 years ago. Well, when you think about it, I did her course when we were at Bloomery Way in Maresfield.
Yeah.
And then that would have been at least maybe like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And she'd quit before that. So yeah, lots to say on that. Anyway, maybe for context, just in case you can't edit it out, but where are we today recording the podcast?
We're outside. We're kind of in the wild a bit. We're at this beautiful... Well, it's a hotel, but it's also a place where you can park your motorhome in the back. And it's just sitting up against the dunes of the Sahara, basically.
Yeah, like Chebi area.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Just outside Mazuga in Morocco.
Yeah, it's really stunning. Basically, what I'm trying to understand is how to be, as this book is. She recommended this book. She recommended several books, and one of them was one I've heard about a million times, and I've never listened to it. So I was like, right, and it was 5 hours on Spotify, and I was like, I'm going to smash through this book. So it's called Indistractable. I don't know how you say his name properly, but Nir Eyal.
Okay.
Nireyal, and the book's called Indistractable. It's been out for years. Anyway, it's about how it's not the phones and it's not the social media that are the issue. It's how we utilize it and how to become basically indistractable in a distractible world.
Right.
And I think you're very distractible.
100%.
You're like the dog now that's like closing her eyes and then cat and then like, where am I?
I honestly... Genuinely, during the morning, I'm trying to do like 5 jobs maybe, just like menial stuff like the washing up, emptying the wee thing out the toilet.
Classy.
Or, all these kind of menial things like filling up the water. And I'll start one and one of the children will ask for something and then I'll completely forget what I was doing and start another task.
Yeah.
And either leave like the water thing open or the toilets just, yeah.
I know.
And Naomi will then say to me, were you doing the, and I'll be like, oh God, yeah, sorry, I started the washing up. Sorry about that. And,
anyways, how do we become indistractable then?
I mean, if I could be indistractable, then I would be much more useful. As a human being, I would think.
I think everyone would be, though.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think a lot of people are like that.
Anyway, here's a good question. One thing that I really thought about quite deeply. Is it socially acceptable now to be in, I was thinking about this because there are people that we know that do this. So is it socially acceptable to be in a social setting with someone? Like going around for a cup of tea or whatever, and then they just get their phone out now?
To me, that's not great.
Do you do it?
It's that bad. I'm quite bad at doom scrolling and scrolling in general. But when I catch myself doing it, then I do normally stop. So it's normally oh shit. And then, you know how it is. You just literally there's a stupid video and then you find yourself you suddenly find yourself stuck.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly realize and you're like, oh crap, sorry. And you put it down. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
but I have done that.
What,
in that kind of setting, but then sort of caught myself doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas
I
some
hate
other
it.
people, have zero shame about that.
Well, I don't know if they have shame. I don't know if they don't. I don't think they realise they're doing it.
Well, that's the thing. I can see how you get into that because I've done it without realising I'm doing it. It's like you look. I find it's awful because you pick up your phone. Also, that's the thing about it. You pick up your phone to do something like, I don't know, check a date in the calendar or
this
check
is what
the weather.
he's talking about. This is what he's talking about.
Yeah, so you check the weather or, you want to put an alarm on, put a
Yeah,
reminder
this is
on.
it.
And then you're like, 10 minutes later, you're like, oh, I'm looking at nonsense videos on Instagram or, TikTok or whatever.
But then that's his point. It's basically what he's talking about is that this will exist. This will always exist. So that's what I was saying to you before we were recording it. It's what he's saying is that everything is, he said he spent 5 years researching to do this book, and I can see how he's put quite a lot into it and really thought about it. I really loved it. His start of the book is really beautiful because it's about how his child was answering a question about this, right? Similar thing. He's asking a question around this is the opening part, so I'm not spoiling anything too much, but it was she said, he said to her, they were playing a game or something, and it was a board game, I think, or they were just asking questions, I'm not sure, but it was, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And she said something really beautiful around what her superpower would be, but he got his phone out and he just doesn't remember what she said. And that was when he realised oh shit, I'm so distracted that I can't even focus on my child, and that's really important to me. So he's basically wrote the book around his research into how we're always going to be distracted as human beings, because it's like, when we were saying this before, back in the day it was like, well, the written word was a distraction for everyone, so the publishing houses are a problem. And now it's like, well, the phone is a problem, so we're all distracted, and it's the phone's fault that we're distracted. And then what he's talking about is that our children, and he's got some really good, interesting research, which I've highlighted. So I actually took an excerpt of the children's section, and I wanted to just go through some points that he made, and I thought it'd be a good topic of discussion.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so it saves you listening to the book, and then if anyone ever wants to listen to it, then, or if it inspires you to listen to it. But basically, he talks about how what we're doing is that we're blaming children for being on this. And this is really interesting just because of what we're navigating with our children. Sometimes it's like they're not the problem. The smartphone, the iPad, the blah-de-blah is not the problem. It's that what is the problem is that you haven't taught, or they are not ready to understand, and this is for adults, right, how to be indistractable in what is essentially a very distracting gadget. So how do you put the tools in place to prevent yourself from being distracted in the first place? So cool, you're going to blame your child for being on whatever, Minecraft for 3 hours, but you didn't teach them about why Minecraft is such a absorbing app in the first place, and the tools to prevent you from being absorbed in it for 3 hours. And let's all just remember, we are, for example, us two, we're like 1990 kids. Like phones were just very different back then. None of us are ready for this fucking shit. No one's ready for this technology. As adults, we're not ready.
It came on pretty quick, didn't it?
And now we've got AI, and like it's fucking mental. And so like, how are we, as if we can't, basically what I'm saying is, if we can't model it as adults, how are our children supposed to navigate it? And not just our children, you don't have to have children. I'm talking about how adults are modeling this in society in general, because it doesn't matter where we are. Like, we're in the middle of Morocco, but then we were in a house, weren't we, with like a Moroccan family, and in the evenings they were just scrolling TikTok and scrolling reels on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, right in front of us.
Right in front
bizarre.
of us. Yeah. It's bizarre for me. I'm finding it really... Anyway, when I'm in my existential crisis, this is the sort of shit that comes up.
But you're saying the parallel I would draw with that is that you're kind of blaming it's kind of like, so-called vicious breeds of dogs.
I love that parallel, yeah.
You're blaming the dog, but you should be blaming the owner.
Yeah.
It's essentially the buck stops with the owner,
Yeah. He didn't use that.
I think...
But he didn't use that, but he did use, like, other weapons or whatever. You give someone a knife, you know how to use a knife.
It's like the guns don't kill people, people kill people, and all that situation.
It's the same thing.
No, that's interesting, and I'd be interesting to... Yeah, I'm totally in.
All right. Well, let's keep going then.
Because that... it's like my biggest thing.
Well, anyway, if you want to listen to the book, it's very useful, because he gives the first part. This chapter comes later on, but the first part of it, the book, is about putting strategies into place to prevent the distraction. So things that I actually already have done, for years, and and you are like, why do you do that? But like, I block myself when it's really bad. When I know that I'm being distracted, I block myself from apps. And now it's built into the eye. And then there's loads of apps that he recommends, like I already know about. Like, I found it really good because I was like, oh my God, I already know all this. But it was interesting just to hear his perspective on how important that being indistractable is. And he was talking about his love life with his partner at one point. But I mean, we've been really good for years. Like, we don't have phones in the bedroom, and like, we never had a TV in our bedrooms. But he was talking about how children will be given a TV and put in the bedroom. Oh, but then you're going to blame the child. Actually, really good example comes up in this, which I'll talk about. But he starts off with talking about like how the headlines are always in like the news, like the risk of teen depression and suicide is linked to smartphone use. Study says, have smartphones destroyed a generation? This is where we're at, right?
Yeah.
As usual, we're just going to project and blame everybody else.
It's easier just to blame the other. Yeah,
exactly. And I think because we're in a van, back to our situation, we're in a van, so I find it really challenging when you pick up your phone, or if I notice that I've picked up my phone in front of them.
100%.
I hate it.
I was going to say that when you were talking about the example of the guy and him, like, not even listening to his child saying some beautiful thing. Like, when I do it, and I feel myself, because I could be picking up the phone for like a good reason, but then become distracted, and then you feel like, and then you're doing it in front of your children. And it's not good modelling at all.
No, it's awful modelling, because that's what's, this is what I can't deal with. But then you know what I did? What did I do? I went and bought like a dumb phone. The children found it hilarious. I bought the dumb phone, the flip phone.
Yeah.
Actually, tell you what actually has helped, because I started it again recently, was my Samsung. So I don't know how to use Samsungs because I'm an Apple bitch. And so I'm trying to use a Samsung. I can't fucking use it anyway properly. But I only have Spotify and Insight Time.
So just to give context on that. So yes, you wanted to move to a dumb phone.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
But then you also wanted to, because with the dumb phone you don't necessarily have the capability of a Spotify to listen to music.
Well, also the maps.
Oh yeah, and the maps.
But Samsung shit for maps, so fuck that.
So then you got like a relatively cheap sort of Samsung phone.
Yeah, like 40 quid.
To use for that.
Yeah.
For that, basically. Just to serve as Spotify, basically.
Yeah. The thing is that the dumb phone, this is what he was talking about. He tried that. The thing is about the dumb phone, which is like what really fucked me off, is that like when it goes, your 2-factor authentication has now gone to your phone. Click on the link or all of this bollocks. We can't do any of that in your bloody flip phone for a Nokia.
Unfortunately, the world has sort of built itself around the assumption that everyone has smartphones.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's when it becomes difficult, and you're just like, oh, fuck. The way that the companies now play on the fact that basically everybody has a smartphone, and it's assumption, and that even the generations who didn't grow up with smartphones, have now got smartphones. Sure, they're getting their grandchildren to help them with it, but they still have smartphones, so they can do all this business.
Didn't you say that you saw that lady that was like, must have been in her 80s or 90s in Morocco, just sitting there scrolling reels?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, we stay, we sometimes, to give it context, like we sometimes stay with families. So like families will sort of offer up their backyard for you to park up your motorhome, and they kind of encourage you to come in with them and sit with them and drink tea with them and sometimes have meals with them, and which, as British people, we're trying to get used to. Because we're not used to people being kind and nice. But you sit in there and there's like a lady literally who's like 80. She's just like scrolling reels. Like literally just scrolling reels. But like at full volume as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
And
you
just,
said that.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Anyway, one of the studies it mentioned, which I found fascinating, and I suppose I never really thought about it, was that there have been an exhaustive set of studies, right? 16 studies. And they confirm that sugar does not affect the behaviour or cognitive performance of children.
I remember hearing that. Back in the day when I used to watch QI, that was like one of the things that they said on QI, that in reality sugar, fizzy drinks and that kind of thing technically doesn't affect children.
It's a myth.
And I imagine it ties into it's potentially another podcast, but the thing that I was reading in the ultra processed food book.
Yeah, that's a good podcast, that'll be.
In reality, the amount of calories that you take on board, your body regulates. And so in reality, you can do as much exercise as you like. You're taking on the same amount of calories as someone who is exercising all day, or the same as the person who's just like sitting on their ass all day. The body just regulates it, and I imagine it's the same in that case. The body just regulates the sugar, and the children. But I still don't get that, because children, now I've had children, I can definitely see it does affect them. So I don't know why it is.
Yeah, but it affects them in a way like, how are they managing the sugar? I suppose, how does their bodies manage the sugar the same as how do their bodies manage? Okay. This is something that I want to talk about with Paloma as a really good example of this. So she can't cope between the sensations that are coming up within her body from being on her, because we have 3 iPads. We bought cheap iPads for them all because we wanted them to be able to access books on the Libby app which is an amazing app for the library, and we wanted them to be able to have some level of access to tech, because I'm not here to say that tech is the enemy. I think that it's a bit like when you never let your children have sugar, the same chat. And you know those children who have never been allowed sugar at the parties, we all know those children, because they're the ones that are at the fucking table grabbing fistfuls of sugar.
Yeah.
Because there's never a balance, but I wanted to gain some kind of perspective for them so that they're not completely removed from it. But no, I don't let them have the normal apps that other children have. They're on Spotify, for example, to listen to music on their kids' one or whatever. But the thing is that Paloma still, wherever it is, doesn't matter what it is on her iPad, she has been known to struggle from being on her iPad to going into the real world. And I'm wondering if it's the same for like sugar, because of course sugar, it's not, I think what the studies are probably talking about is the effect on children. It's not talking about the effect of sugar on the body. And then how are children equipped to deal with the sugar spikes or in their system? How are the children equipped to deal with moving from the screen into the real world and back into the screen? How can they cope with that? Well, that always will come down to what essentially all our chats will eventually boil down to, which is how are we tending to ourselves, and how do we model tending to ourselves to our children, which is what this is all about.
Yeah.
And so for Paloma, she's had to start learning the tools to tend to herself, to be able to be on the screen if she wants to be on the screen, and then to be able to come off the screen. So for context of our screen journey with our children, the 3 iPads, they don't have phones, they've never had TV in their rooms, and they're limited with how much TV they have. Then we moved into the van, and we basically didn't give them, we tried the iPads for the Libby app, but they found that it was hurting their eyes if they were reading on it. So we switched to a Kindle, which I have a lot to say on fucking Amazon Kindles, but it was the best option that we could have within this situation. So they have a Kindle, which is essentially not a screen. It's supposed to act as not a screen.
Yes.
And it does, and it does serve that purpose. It's just glitchy as fuck. And then the iPads remained in the safe in the boot. And then when I was reading this book, that's why I got them out a couple of days ago, because what I wanted was to start seeing if some of the tips that it has in this book could apply to them. That's why I've got them out. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've got more to say on what they are.
Oh, interesting.
Paloma, hello.
Speaking of the devil.
Yes.
You're right, sweetheart.
Pardon? Oh yeah, we were actually just talking about that.
Yeah, of course.
Not with that girl though, because I don't know if she can have a screen.
Well, she was just watching the screen and now she's having her lunch.
You can. What's your timer going to be?
45.
Yeah. Actually, this is great. We're actually just talking about that and the tools. So you're going to set a timer for 45 minutes. So you're going to set a timer. Come sit here and Daddy can edit this in.
No, absolutely.
So you've come
it's
over.
Quite pertinent to the conversation.
So you've come over, and what have you asked for?
To have music.
To have music on your iPad. And then, so you're going to set a timer for your well-being. Yeah, so what did you decide, you and Xanthi decide that the timer would be?
45.
45. And then what happens when the timer goes off then?
We wait for the next day.
Yeah, are you gonna wait for the next day? So I'm wondering why you're setting yourself that 45-minute timer. Why not on it just for as many hours as you want?
Because I get cranky.
Oh, because you can feel it that you get cranky on the screen. That's interesting. So when you finished with your 45 minutes of Spotify listening, what are you going to do for yourself afterwards?
Play.
You're going to go and play? Inside, outside?
Whichever.
Oh, okay, nice. And how does that help you when you finish with your iPad?
Feel not cranky.
Oh, it helps you to not feel cranky. Well, that's amazing. Well, enjoy that. I hope you have any particular favourite music that you'd like to share? You said to me you've been listening to a bit of what?
Serene Carpenter.
Yeah, but not her videos, apparently. Bit gruesome, you said.
Well, I have been watching the rest of the videos, which aren't as...
They're not as gruesome.
No.
Alright, so a bit of Sabrina Carpenter for you. Alright, we'll go and enjoy that. This is what I want to talk about, is how they start to tune into how the screens are impacting their well-being, which is what he talked about a lot, which is obviously what I've talked about with Paloma before. But he kind of empowered me to say, do you know what, this isn't about a shutdown of screens. This is about empowering them to understand how to use it as a tool. And I think that if we can do that, that will serve them better than me just being like, no, we're not having any screens ever. It's all in the boot.
Yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely. I think always, it never works just to fully cut something off in that way.
Okay, so basically he wanted to look at as well like data about the teen brain thing, saying that like, oh, supposedly the immature brain, the teen brain also causes problems. Again, essentially saying that a teen brain is basically nothing more than a myth. So all of this shit that we say, so now we're saying that the smartphones are a problem, but again, that will be a myth. So basically what we're doing is replacing blame, is what he talks about, and that has consequences. If we continue to project it onto this issue and this issue, that will have consequences, because as per usual, as a society, we don't take responsibility. So basically what we're talking about is this iGeneration as being on the brink of the worst mental health crisis in decades. And they're saying that what they were saying that is that, well, that's traced to phones, that's why, because it's the iGen. But what I think and what I observe, in my personal opinion, is that it's the fact that as adults, we're not modelling this shit. And so then, and as adults, we're all on the brink of a mental health crisis. Yeah. So essentially, the really good question that it asked in here is ultimately the answer to the question, is tech bad for our kids? Is four critical questions that he talks about. So what is technology displacing? What are our kids doing with it? How much are they using it? And who is using it? So those are the four questions. So what is technology displacing? Well, it's obviously replacing the next thing that we've had over years, right?
Well, yeah.
And then it's like, what are the kids doing with it? So he talks about TVs in rooms, playing on Fortnite continuously, and then like the how much are they using it. But then he talks about who is using it, and I think that's really interesting, because I really it's going to get good. I've got some good shit to say.
Okay.
I'm like, this is why I'm
like, because it's been pretty stale so far.
Do you think?
No, I'm only teasing.
Okay, basically what they're saying, what I'm finding really interesting, is that this is a really good study, and it was talking about how that kids who used moderate amounts, which we're talking to be about an hour or so a day, showed no increased symptoms when it came to thoughts of loneliness, suicidal thoughts.
Okay.
However, those at the other end of the spectrum who spent little time online were also at higher risk of having suicidal thoughts and feelings of loneliness.
Interesting. What? So the people who had zero?
Yeah, so who had like basically no screen time, they had these feelings of suicidal thoughts and loneliness, were at more risk, higher risk, than those who were like literally an hour or so per day.
That's interesting, isn't it? That is interesting. Do they feel more deprived? Is that
maybe
the basis of that? Obviously, we can't really delve into that too much.
Those who spent over 3 hours a day also had higher symptoms of feeling loneliness and depression. Well, actually, what they were talking about was that overall children's rates of death are lower in this generation.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're trying to unpick here is how are we tending to children outside of what we're talking about here as the problem. And I think this is what I'm seeing more and more, and partly like why I think we're doing van life in the first place is because in actual fact the problem is that as a society we spend less and less time with our children, and they feel less and less part of a unit and part of a community, and perhaps that's what the phone replaces.
Yes.
Like just little things that he mentions and that we know about. It's like eating together or doing things together. I mean, he's talking about how they have to each week like have set time that their child or he or the partner will, the mum will say, this is what we're going to do for the next 3 hours. And it can be really simple, like going for a walk, or the daughter might choose like board games. But essentially this togetherness is what we're lacking. And we only have to look at, I mean, sure, the 80-year-old is schooling reels the irony, but you know, when we're looking at places like coming to Morocco and you see like generations living together and having that support, this is not what exists in our society, right? This isn't what exists. Our children don't feel like they have a place, so the phone becomes an outlet for that often. And I think I'm just really desperately like like clawing and holding on to what it means to be their mother for our children, so that they don't feel those feelings of like depression and loneliness, and then utilize the phone as that outlet, which is where it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I can see that. Yes. Yeah.
And so then what's happening is that people are blaming the phones, but actually they're not looking at how they're utilizing their time and how the children are feeling part of the conversation, you know, in their homes. And they're saying that basically it's like underlying diagnosis will exist for those children who actually have problematic interactive media use. They're saying that there's always going to be something underlying, and then that's their outlet. And that's what we talk to the children about. Like, there's always going to be something that's somebody's outlet, whether it's addictive technology use, drugs, drink. We talk about this with our children.
Yes.
And last night I was reading that book about suicide. Did you hear it? The
What's
pages.
that?
The
No.
book we were reading, and the mum commits suicide, the adopted mum.
Oh, God, yeah, I heard that, yes.
Yeah, so then they were asking me, and Ploma was like, I want to know the gore. Did she slit her wrists?
Yeah,
Like, where did
they're
she
asking
slit?
that. I was overhearing you. I was like doing the washing up, overhearing you like read that. I was like, God, it's a bit. Whew.
Yeah, no, it's
Because, you know, technically that's kind of like a children's book, though, isn't it?
no, it is yeah. I mean, it's okay, Jacqueline Wilson. So it's kind of like aimed perhaps a little higher than the 7-year-olds, but because we have such open conversations, and because I think that's what I mean, everyone will have a do agree or a disagree on that, but like it's like in the book. And she talks about that, and I think that's the part of it. It's like I'm talking about suicide and the mother slitting her wrists in a child's book. I've written this, guys, just so that you know. And then the irony was that within the book, the police officer said to the daughter, the adopted daughter, "Oh well, Mummy's gone to sleep now forever."
Yeah.
And so what I'm talking about, and she's like, she doesn't want to sleep, she's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And that's what the daughter's like telling the story about how she remembered that when she was 5. And so I think what I'm getting at is that she was doing that on purpose to explain that we need to explain to children in terms that actually need to be explained, rather than dumbing it down for our children. You know, I used to be a primary teacher, so I understand what happens when we dumb shit down. It does not work. Like, parents would be like, I'm not going to tell them, and I'd be like, cool, they already know that you're going to divorce, so you might as well just tell them.
We've dealt with like family stuff where where young children haven't been told stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
And you're just like, what, you're not going to tell them about that?
They know.
And they're
Yeah.
not stupid.
They know. And so, yeah, so the thing is like, you're not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be dumbing things down. And so that's part of this, like, conversation that I have with the children. It's like everyone will have an outlet. So they find it, they're asking like, oh, that person's just scrolling reels. Like, they see it, they see the phone usage, and they see it as an outlet. I'm trying to explain to them that it's escapism. And a form of escapism used in a healthy way, when we're aware of it consciously, is actually absolutely fine. Like, I talk about that with my clients all the time, you know, to understand that, fuck me, like, I am feeling the feels, I'm in that freeze response, and I just need a way of just coping right now. You know, it could be a shower, it could be a walk to start moving, but also it could just be, do you know what? I'm going to binge on the new Bridgerton. And that's okay, used consciously. It's when we're not conscious of it, and then we're using it as a consistent outlet where it makes us feel worse, which is what I feel like Paloma is susceptible to particularly. What's the underlying issue for Paloma there? Well, Paloma is very, very highly sensitive and easily dysregulated, and needs to be able to tend to herself in a way that other children might not have to tend to themselves. And so when she utilizes the screen time, which she has tried in the past, like sneakily trying to get the iPad, and you find her in the corner, or any excuse to use your phone. Daddy, I want to use the plant app to find out what this plant is. And then like 20 minutes later, she's still on the phone, and she's found her way to something else.
Yeah.
You know, well, because she just needs something to tend to herself, and that's for her a tool that she knows that she can go to that doesn't feel good for her. So how do we teach her to find the feel good tools? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it's like becoming reliant on it almost.
Yeah.
Not understanding that you're reliant on it.
Yeah.
Or sort of, just falling into that trap of just numbing out, you know, for large periods.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's like, for example, with our screen, when we do screen time, when we do sort of Netflix, we try and encourage films.
Yes.
As opposed to series, because films, it's a limited amount of time, so it feels more sort of manageable, and it feels like there's a neater cut-off. Whereas if you're allowing them to binge like long series of things, then it's more difficult to sort of take them out of that. So in general, we don't really allow. That's sort of one sort of tool that we use, is that we don't allow them to watch things with episodes or series of things.
We have, obviously, back in the day, but they've watched a lot of Bluey back in the day, but now it's like me. If there's a series, I'll be like, I need to watch it because I need to know what happened, and then you get to the end of it and you're like, oh fuck, is there going to be another series? And that feeling and sensation actually doesn't feel good for me. So yeah, that's partly, I think, a really useful tool. I think a really good experiment, which is now going to lead me on to the next part of our discussion.
Lovely.
So I fucking love this experiment. It's with Mayan children and American kids.
This is the thing. Because it's like, again, it's similar. I love it when they use, because to do these comparisons, they have to go into sort of tribes where these things haven't touched, technology hasn't touched, and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's so interesting.
No, but this shit.
It's better be good. You're building it up.
I know, but you know what? Because this is where it gripped me, and I was like, I woke up to what he was really saying at this point. Nice. And because I love anything with Mayan anyway, because, that's a lot of my work is from the Mayan culture. But anyway, this experiment, 2 children were brought into a room. Yeah. And then an adult taught just one of them how to build a toy while the other one waited. And then the study was designed to observe what the non-active child, the one not being taught, would do while they waited.
Okay.
So obviously 2 children, one's building a toy, the other one's watching them build a toy.
What kind of age are we talking? Do we know?
Actually, aged 5 to 11.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, so it was comparing Mayan children aged 5 to 11 living in Guatemala with their middle class white American counterparts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what they found was that the Mayan children had superhuman attention spans compared to the American kids, but it's not for the reason why you're going to think. It gets better. This is where I got really into it. So American kids did what you expect. Shuffled, stared at the floor, showed signs of disinterest, impatient. One boy pretended a toy was a bomb, threw his hands in the air to mimic explosions, making disruptive noises to just match how he was feeling, Mayan children, however, concentrated on what the other child was learning. Many just sat in their chairs, transfixed by the teacher as they showed the other child what to do. And then the study found that overall American children sustained their focus for only half as long as the Mayan kids, right? Even more interesting was that finding that the Mayan children, are you ready? Who had less exposure to formal education showed more sustained attention and learning than the counterparts of the Mayan families with extensive involvement in Western schooling.
Interesting. So what are we saying there?
Wow, that really got me really excited, because I was like, this is what I've been fucking saying.
School is the problem.
So now we're going to talk about why school is the problem.
I said it.
So basically what it was saying was that it's the lens of autonomy, which is why when Paloma comes over and says, hey, can I have some songs? It's been the thing we've been doing for 2-3 days now.
Yeah.
And it's about her autonomy of that. Sure, you've chosen that you want to have the songs. Cool. Now you choose how you interact with that and how you interact with them. Because what it was saying is that formal schooling in America and similar Western societies is the place where kids feel absolutely no control of their choices. Obviously.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. The whole you wrote a Substack recently on being spoon fed, right? So it's like we are, and we, in the last episode we talked about how you went to boarding school and then your life became automated and you were consistently, what you you would deem spoon-fed, automated, no choice, no autonomy.
Yes.
And now you're living in a van, obviously.
Yeah. No, but that makes absolute... yeah, it makes absolute sense. And no wonder it piqued your interest.
Yeah, it piqued my interest massively, right? Because then what it started talking about was that basically that children just are, you know, prisoners in their own world. And, you know, I've listened to a lot about how, you know, children get less free time than prisoners, you know? Like, they get less autonomy than prisoners. And when I took the children out of school, you know, that was, 18 months ago now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm taking the children out of school. No one really does this that much. And they don't. Like, there is more and more, but there is definitely a very, very small community of people who do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people, and the judgment, the fucking judgment, you know, people just couldn't handle the discussion. And at the bottom of it, I was like, I don't know, but there's something calling me to do this, and I have to follow my gnosis on that. So then when the children were out of school, what I noticed was that they were able to choose themselves. So a really good example of this, and how goes back to Paloma as a really good example, because she's just so obvious with the way she copes. So it was when she came out of school, and then she was like, and she was the one that was the least keen on coming out of school, because they all wanted to, but she was the one that was like, I have a lot of questions, and asked some very adult questions, which I'm sure we could share in another episode. But one of the things was when she came out of school, she's like, wait, so you're not going to tell me to do anything? So she literally she didn't change her clothes, change her pants, want to clean her teeth, wash, eat when she was told to eat. She basically was like, fuck you. Day one of school, she was the most excited to go to school. Day one of school, she explained, and I think this would be a really good episode, and we'll call it the day Paloma kicked the teacher in the balls. She came back and was like, hold on a minute, this is the system, and literally summed it up in like a few words at the age of 4, and was like, oh right, cool, this is the system, yeah? And we're like, yeah, sorry, that is the system. And then and then she was like, and then she just then she became indoctrinated, and then she just came out of it and was like, fuck you, because it is that bad, it is that controlling.
Yes, well, yeah. I remember that, yeah. She literally, it was literally just a massive reaction against it, basically. It's like, I'm going to do what I want then.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be told what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what they're saying is that Mayan kids grew up very differently. And this woman, very interesting woman, studied a lot of Mayan villages. And basically was saying that the children, and there's another section to this now coming up, is that the children had tremendous amount of freedom.
Yes.
Which is why they were able to sit there and choose to just observe this child building the toy, and then, you know, get involved as and when was necessary, or invited, I'm sure, in the study. So what, you know, it comes back to, rather than somebody else setting the goal, they've just been given no goals. They're setting the goal. It's their choice, which is, you know, consistently what happens. In fact, a really good question today from somebody said to Arlo, do you like mum teaching you? And Arlo's just looking at him like, my mum doesn't teach me. You know, I don't. But I do, but I don't, because he's reaching his own goals consistently. And I think that comes back to where technology is becoming a problem, and why we are all part of, you know, this system, this spoon-fed system. And then we're given this phone, we're given this technology, and we just continue on in this robotic manner, and just like, are just totally like in this world of not understanding what, and if we've got freedom, which is where my existential crisis is coming from, when we have this level of freedom, we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot having, you know, I'm having the same feelings as well. It's like to be suddenly given days where you're not sort of meant to be anywhere, or that kind of thing. It's kind of overwhelming when you've been in that system, you know, for the most of your life. And I don't know. I mean, how long is it going to take for us to actually like fully
Never.
allow ourselves into this?
Probably never. I mean, we're talking about like years of undoing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe. We'll definitely soften. I feel like I'm softening. But I think that's why having this lifestyle for the children is just so fascinating. So then, of course, we talk about school endlessly, but essentially, you know, children are given, if we're giving our children the opportunity to choose from an early age and we're giving them the autonomy, then the idea is that they can utilize technology in a way that is actually of use and fulfilling and not deem the demon, you know. That's the whole point of, I think, essentially what he's trying to say. But then the next part of it that I find really, really interesting, so I grew up very differently to you because you went to boarding school, which we spoke about last time, and I was given that, I was a 90s kid that was just like, you know, after school, once I'd helped on the farm, I would be like just roaming the streets of my village or going to my mate's house or whatever. What he's talking about is that children's free play, and then, you know, this is coming back to school as well, is declining hugely, which is also part of the problem because it's an ever increasing control of the children's choice of activities. So that's why more are on the phones and finding community, because they're not finding a community in real life. And it's not like the 90s kids, me, who used to go to the park and be like, who's down the park today? Or go to my friend's house. I mean, to be fair, we did used to play a lot of Sims, which is technically a screen, isn't it? But like, you know, that free time of just like going out and meeting up with people is now not happening, because not because the children don't want to, but because parents are in a world that some would say, you know, parents would say is increasingly more dangerous for the children to go out in.
Yeah.
So they're basically saying that the children are not going out and then causing more problems later on because they're not getting the free play.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time they're saying, well, studies have shown that the world is safer place overall. I find that, I mean, there's lots to say on that, but I think, you know, I don't know, in my day we used to leave the front door unlocked and it wouldn't be a big deal. You don't leave your door unlocked now. Would you have ever left that Margate door unlocked?
No.
No?
Absolutely not, no.
No, but is that our projection or is that the reality?
Don't know.
Is that society making us feel like that, or is that the reality?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm actually quite lost on that discussion because, you know, everyone said Morocco is like the most dangerous country, but we actually had an attempted break-in in France, and in Morocco it's felt like the safest country that we've driven in.
Genuinely. Yeah. I mean, I might be tempting fate there, but yeah.
No, I think, honestly, I don't think it's an issue at all. So I'm wondering, like, where this, like, it's not safe for you to go out and play with your friends is coming from.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of like societal sort of, it's kind of like a societal thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Societal pressure of, yeah.
But
you don't know who's out there.
No, but then I'm also wondering, okay, but so you don't want them roaming the streets, which, of course, fine. But then it's like, I don't know, we used to see this in when we were in Margate, you know, you'd be like, do you want your mates to come over, or would you want to go over to your friends? And then the girls would not dare, or Arlo would not dare tell me that he'd just been on the PlayStation the whole time that they were at their friend's house, because they knew that my reaction would be, what's the fucking point then? But I suppose at least they're socialising. But for me, that's not free play. Although I suppose there is an element of play and they're directing the activity. But there's something about, I don't know, just sitting and watching your friend play war games is not really what I would call nourishing, in my perspective, in my feeling.
Yeah, I don't know. Because you were just saying about, you know, playing Sims.
Yeah,
and that kind of
exactly.
And there definitely would have been elements, you know, when I had people around to my house, you would definitely like get the Sega Mega Drive out and do a bit of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But then I wouldn't play Sims with my friend like the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm wondering whether it's like, I don't know, fuck knows, but I feel like when I would go to my friends, or I don't know, tell me, were you on the Sega Mega Drive the whole time with your friends when they came
I wouldn't
around?
have thought so.
No. So what I'm wondering, but they would go and they'd be on it, they would say like basically the whole time. And like, and we would see children, you know, when Arlo had a party and he invited the boys to come around for the party, they all bought a phone and they were 7.
Yeah.
And they were just sitting on the phone, and then I literally confiscated the phones.
Yeah,
that
was bizarre, wasn't it?
Because I was like, no, like we're here to this. Like we took them rock climbing, and then it came back, and there was like things organised and food and cake, and they were trying to just get the phones out, but they weren't talking to each other within that.
Yeah, that was an odd one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Again, like. No, I don't know. No, it was odd but you could see that it was hampering like any kind of interaction, actual interaction. So like it felt necessary, didn't it, to sort of intervene at that point.
I think it comes back to how they are monitoring their behaviour around it. And so one of the things he talks about is like, does that behaviour make you feel good? So coming back to that question I asked at the beginning before we start wrapping up, because I think that's really important, just to like, that was one of the things that came to me. So if you're in a social environment, do you get your phone out? He said a really good question for that, which is like socially acceptable, is say, oh, is everything okay? I saw you got your phone out, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Such a good question.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, have you got a message from someone? Has someone had an accident? What happened?
Well, it doesn't have to be that specific, though. Just like, is everything okay? But he was saying, like, that will just, like, mean I'll just consciously be aware of what they're doing. And it's either is okay or it's not okay. Oh, sorry, silly me, I was just checking an email or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so he's saying, so he's saying, like, the thing I highlighted was, you know, is my behaviour working for me? Am I proud of myself in the way I'm behaving?
I think that's a good way of framing it.
Yeah, am I proud of my behaviour right now?
It's like you like wanting to hold a mirror up to someone.
Yeah.
You're like, this is what you're doing right now. Is that all right?
Well, we've done this with the children, because when the children are dysregulated and then we're giving them all the tools to like tend to themselves and they're refusing all those tools and we're like holding on by a thread as the parents in that situation.
Yeah, it's been tricky.
We've said to them, are you proud of your behaviour now? Like, is this the behaviour that you want to model? You know, if we were to video you, would you be proud of that? And they're like, that's when they completely lose their shit and are like, oh shit, no, because they know that their behaviour is not what they want and it's not what we want, but then they're trying to grapple with the tools that they need in order to tend to that behaviour and their children. And so, you know, sometimes it's like, I just want to fucking scream the van down. Okay, cool. Scream the van down. I get it. Like, you've lost your shit, but you're not going to be proud of that behaviour. So how can we start to build on those tools so that we don't end up screaming the van down? Like, one of the things is Anthony's, you know, we've got another chat about that, I'm sure. It's like she can't have gluten now. And the gluten is interacting with her system and she's then not able to get the nutrients that she needs. And so then sometimes that impacts her behaviour and her nervous system overall. And so we've noticed that now we have to completely cut out gluten. And then she's able to utilise the tools. So there is sometimes a reasoning and an underlying thing. But it's overall, it's like, you know, we have to teach our children to self-regulate. We have to teach them how to self-regulate. And I know, and I've seen that most adults in this society, a lot of adults in the society, maybe not most, but a lot of them do not understand what that means.
Yeah, because they're not doing it even for themselves a
No.
lot of the time.
No.
And so, yeah, modelling it for the children is just not happening.
No. And then how do we, if we do fall off what we would say is good, what we would deem for ourselves, not what other people think of it, but what we think for ourselves is like, oh, this isn't good behaviour. Okay, but how do we explain, oh yeah, do you know what? I didn't do well there. And explain that to them. Be like, do you know what? I wasn't doing great there. I've let myself down there. And I'm going to try better. So a really good example of what I was trying to utilise this with the girls was that Santhi set the 45-minute timer. And then when I went back, she said, oh, timer's just gone off, mummy. And I was like, just gone off? Or just because I walked in the van, you're like, the timer's gone off. And then she looked and she said, and I looked at the time, and on the timer app that you downloaded, it said that it had gone off like 20 minutes before. And I said, okay, cool, but the timer went off 20 minutes and you promised yourself 45 minutes. So you actually had an hour. And she's like, yeah. And I said, so for your well-being, you chose 45 minutes and now you've had an hour. So how does that make you feel? She's like, well, next time I'm going to definitely listen to the timer because I want to do 45 minutes. You know?
That's interesting, yeah.
It's an interesting way, rather than me coming in, because there was a really good example of the woman that studies the mind children, I think it is that one. She got a phone, and then the first day she got a phone, she shut the door and she didn't engage with her family. And when she came back from school the next day, her dad had taken the door off the hinges and said, it's not our fault that you basically behave like a prick, so I had to take the door off the hinges. But what she took from that was how her behaviour had impacted the rest of the family.
Yeah, no, that's not good, is it?
And so then she was like, oh shit, like, no, but even though the way he did it, awful, obviously, but way he said it was her behaviour had upset the family and upset those around her. That's the impact that her behaviour had, which is what we're talking about with the children. So then what he's saying is like for the children to understand and for us to teach them and guide them with how this behaviour impacts others. When you get your phone out in a social setting, how does that make the others feel that you're with? That's what we're getting at.
Right, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah. Just an extreme,
That is
way
extreme.
of demonstrating it, but I suppose, yeah, absolutely.
But it's a good way of demonstrating it.
Yeah.
In terms of like, and then she went on to study it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I mean, not ideal parenting, but we've all been pushed to our limits. So I imagine he was pushed to his limit.
Yeah.
So that's basically, I mean, there's obviously always more to say. This was a very fulfilling, thing. But essentially, like at the end, he just says the critical thing that we can teach our kids is that the power is ultimately in their hands and it is their right and their responsibility to use their time how wisely. There's a really good, if you don't want to listen to the book, it's How to Raise an Indistractable Kid by Nir Eyal. I don't want to.
But it's the same. But it's the same author.
Yes. This is the book, but it's written out for you. It's an excerpt.
Right.
So if you Google it, How to Raise an Indistractable Kid, excerpt, it will come up with the, it's 37 pages of that part of the book if you're interested, but you don't want to listen to the rest of it. But I do highly recommend the rest of it.
No, I definitely would like to give that a listen.
Yeah,
yes.
It's good. It's really useful tools. It's just tools. Anyway, now I've deep dived on that. Now I'm on how to do deep work and how... because you asked me yesterday what I'm going to listen to. Well, now I want to understand why we've lost and where the superpower of coming back to deep work will come rather than shallow work.
Just give me a quick précis on what we're talking about when we say deep work.
Well,
he's saying shallow work.
He's saying like basically social media and like it's those people who are prepared to learn like the depths of software. Not that that's not what I'm doing, but it's those people who will be successful. It's the people who are willing to just like literally go into a cabin in the woods and write and learn something and go deeper than most because they don't have the capacity. They're too distracted. Those are the people who will win.
Yeah, that's where I struggle. And so that's why I probably need to listen to that book.
Well, that's all I have to say on the matter. Anything to add?
No. That sounds, like I say, I need to just get a hold of that book and just give that a listen.
It's only 5 hours on Spotify, but unless you're...
I'll whiz through that.
And then, if you have listened to this and you'd like to listen to more, hopefully maybe with just not us chatting, then please do, as I said at the beginning, like and subscribe. And you can find us also on Substack. Anyway, I'm not sure how much longer I'll be posting on Instagram because I'm having a whole existential crisis on it. But little snippets maybe on Instagram.
Yeah.
YouTube videos eventually when I did miss 2 weeks. I let myself down, but more to say on that as well. But definitely Substack, I think, is going to be the primary focus, or you can find us at nomestia.co, where we've got a website. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Nomestia.